Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to look at Kadena, and just before we do, kind of get a peek over at Bitcoin, see what's going on there. I think it's important to understand just a little bit about where we're at with things here. So ultimately speaking, here we're looking at the price action being right above 46,600. That's basically the support level here. In other words, the price could not pass that point. So that's gonna kind of reaffirming the fact that we should be in at the bottom. In other words, if we can make higher highs and higher lows moving forward, we'll be in really good shape. We are making those on a very small time frame. If we look at the 1 hour chart, you can see we got the higher highs in here, and of course the higher lows. But this is what I'm talking about right here. You can see that the price action coming from before, this right here is lower than this. So we are essentially in good shape, seeing a second bounce right off that same support. So ultimately what I'm getting at here is the fact that we should be on target to continue to see higher highs and higher lows moving forward, based on the smaller time frame indicating that we are making those and creating those. But there's no doubt that on the big picture, the 1 day candlesticks, we're still making these lower highs and lower lows, right? It cannot seem to go higher than that, right? We keep getting stopped out of this descending pattern. So one thing is going to happen. We're either going to break to the upside or break to the downside. Typically, on a bearish type of descending triangle, we break to the downside like we did before. Will that happen again? It's hard to say specifically. I do feel that Bitcoin's at its bottom, but again, 42,000 is still a likelihood if the bottom drops out. So we just got to be aware of that. That's why we dollar cost average right now and don't put all of our eggs into one basket. That goes for Kadena as well. I know it's easy to want to kind of buy the dip based on how good it is or has done in the past. I mean, gets up to its all-time high again right now. You're at 2.5x, right? That's great. But proceed with caution, right? We don't know truly where this is going to go. And if anything, history is any indication of the fact that Kadena does exponentially worse when Bitcoin does worse or bad, then we're gonna see it come down lower. Should that happen? Probably not. It's tested this lower Fibonacci retracement level, which is a very strong support level, basically 3 times over the past couple of weeks. So all good things there. It's just having trouble breaking through $12.70 right now. Okay, so let's look at some things here really quick, see what's going on. So looking at the 200, 200 is working as a potential support, 50 is working as a resistance. We're kind of within that range, which is expected. A lot of coins are doing that right now. We have potential MACD convergence on the 1 day chart. Try not to get your hopes up too much though, because this isn't necessarily like the best indication ever, but it does imply that we might be seeing a bullish sentiment versus the bearish we've seen for quite some time. I mean, you look at this here, the bears have been literally in control since November 11th, 5 weeks. It's kind of annoying. But you got to keep this in mind too. It took only 1 week to get from like what, $7 upwards of $28. Okay, so it had its day. Will it have its day again? Quite likely, yeah. It's just it needs to ramp up first, and it's trying to do that right now. We're stuck under 50 on the RSI still. Of course, I wouldn't say stuck. It's just that it kind of came up there and kind of got rejected. But that does traditionally work as a resistance, so we want to be mindful of that. Let's look at the 4 hour and kind of see where that. We're up over the 50 on the simple moving average, which is a good sign. I'd rather be over the 50 than the 200, and here's why. If we take a look here, you could potentially see a golden cross. That essentially signals a nice, strong increase in price. In other words, oftentimes when you have a golden cross on the 4 hour chart, the price will have a tendency of continuing higher than it should, or pushing past barriers at that point. So heaven forbid the price goes sideways for a little while, we have potential for that to happen and again, push the price even higher because of that. All right, so I like to see that. That's ultimately a good thing. Furthermore, let's go ahead and just pull this up here as well, and we'll see where the RSI is at. So we hit 70 on the RSI on the 4 hour. That makes sense. That was a major resistance at 270. So ultimately right now we're just kind of calming down and relaxing until the price has a chance to kind of recover. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we see another leg up again. Again, bear in mind, if Bitcoin just goes straight sideways from here, we'll be okay. But if Bitcoin decides it wants to dump down to 46 or lower, different story altogether, right? That's why we pay attention to Bitcoin, understand what it's doing. But pending Bitcoin behaves, Kadena has tremendous potential to break 3. It's done this. It's done it a few times before where it's tried to break out and then it gets immediately stopped out because Bitcoin does something stupid. So 270, I would say, is the next major resistance. We want to break above that and close above that. And then obviously the next site would be $16. I think it's likely 16 would be the next target based on its current momentum. It's done very well in the past 2 or 3 trading days, right? Now, granted, you could say the same thing for Bitcoin too. It did well yesterday, but the day before it was struggling and Kadena's bouncing back, right? So Again, it's not independent of Bitcoin by any means, but it's definitely kind of marching by the beat of its own drum, so to speak, for the moment. And that's a good sign to have some independence from Bitcoin. All right, so taking a look here at the 1 hour chart, let's go ahead and pull up the Ichimoku cloud and see. We've got some indications here that we may be pending, we may be getting close to a sell signal, but we're still want to keeping it open. In other words, if you just say bought the dip, so to speak, closer to $8 to $10, then you would be in a position right now where you'd want to continue to hold your position open, right? The cloud is basically telling us that we don't want to sell just yet because the conversion line's above the baseline and the lagging span has not intersected with the price action yet. Okay, we're also, of course, above the cloud, which makes perfect sense. It's basically 3 out of 3 essentially for the Ichimoku cloud right now, telling us that we want to hold our position open. Just know as soon as this intersects the price action, that's considered a sell signal. And if this guy drops below the baseline, that's also a sell signal too. Okay, but all good things there in that sense. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at TD sequential. We can kind of see where we're at. We're looking at a 6 and a reset. So this is actually very healthy. It's good to see a 6 hour kind of retracement, because what that boils down to is that is a higher low, and we're seeing a nice set of higher lows, and of course we got the higher highs too. So ultimately we can break past this little barrier here at about 1270. We'll be in really good shape to see $16 as the next target. So I would speculate we're going to see $16 from Kadena in the next 24 to 48 hours, pending Bitcoin doesn't do something stupid. Again, everything is like that right now. We just got to be aware that with fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market, Bitcoin is the one thing everyone looks at. As soon as Bitcoin drops its bottom, something like this is going to go as well. But just note that Kadena is very low in the overall sense of where it's been. We're probably very close to the bottom, if not the bottom's already in. That's my personal opinion based on the previous movement, as well as the simple fact that I think the previous high was right there. So if you take a look at this here, and this is really cool. If we could draw a line out from the time in which it kind of got stopped out, it spent probably about 7 to 10 days right at the resistance level of 732, plus or minus a few cents, of course. But that ultimately is just below the major support level here at Fibonacci of 840. So that tells me that we have a strong amount of volume accumulation right there, and that's likely going to be the lowest point. Let's take a quick look at that actually. Let's go ahead and zoom in here and see where the volume comes from this most recent time. So we got a decent amount of volume there. We got the most amount of volume here, however, at 1764. Therefore, we got to understand that once we get past the resistance of about $16, we might run into some resistance there based on the fact that that was a strong accumulation of volume. And oftentimes, bears will see that as a selling opportunity, and you'll see the price kind of get stopped out there. Because the most amount of volume accumulation is typically where you can establish support and resistance levels. Therefore, this is a major resistance channel, and this is a major support channel. Okay, so once we fly free through here from 1280 to 16, we're going to see, it likely continue to progress upwards. But at this point in time, I can say that, all the technical data is telling us that Kadena is doing well on the short term. Okay. Big picture, it looks like it's ready to break out too, obviously, because it's been beaten down for so long. You can only hold, something underwater for so long before it will emerge, unless it's an anchor weight, right? If it's a flotation device, it has to come back up. And, Kadena's got that tendency of doing very well, obviously in short amounts of time. Can we expect it to ramp back up and hit its all-time high? Yes, but in time, okay? It's been damaged for so long, we shouldn't expect it to happen right away. We need to see higher highs and higher lows more consistently, healthy bullish continuation patterns before we get to a point of, setting that expectation. But more importantly, we got to break that resistance of, roughly 1730 to essentially be able to consider this to be extremely bullish. For right now, the micro's bullish, and that's important for the moment. We'll go ahead and focus on that. Just make sure you understand, Bitcoin is still calling the shots, even though Kadena has done very well in the recent past. Okay, so hopefully you found benefit here. If so, great. If not, I'm sorry. Maybe next time, feel free to join my trading community. Actually, I have a trading academy I'm rolling out with here in roughly about a month or so within our website. And it's going to provide you with a lot of in-depth analysis on how to do these things yourself. So again, the whole focus and foundation of me making these videos is to help you become more self-sufficient. So check that out in your own time, of course. And obviously, if you're looking for some signals, some things that I can do to help you in the meantime, feel free to join. Those are about to resume here soon. As soon as Bitcoin hits 50,000, we'll be off to the races. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next one.